Goeiedag! Good day, fellow South Africans. Yep, it's the old fart back again. Now, for those of you who have been involved in the huge expansion of my supplementary channel over the last couple of weeks, it has just gained thousands of subscribers, and that has been my focus. And now, because it's now starting to gather steam, I'm coming back to the mainstream channel. And what I want to do is I want to alert over 20,000 subscribers to my mainstream channel to what is actually happening in the chemistry between the minority groups. You know, I often talk about the impact of BEE and affirmative action on the whites in South Africa. But let's be very clear on something. They're not alone. The colored people in South Africa are equally affected. And what is happening is because there was a smaller percentage of black Africans in the Cape, it's become a huge attraction for black Africans to move into that part of the Cape, including a place called Hermanus, which I'll talk about in a second. And what they've done is, because of BEE, they've got all the jobs, and the coloureds have been sidelined. Now, let's make something very clear about the coloureds, and I'm talking about all areas of colours, because they're different, just like the Boers and the Afrikaners. They're different categories. You got the Griquas, who never gave up their cultural identity despite apartheid. They became black under apartheid, but they just stuck being Griqua. And a lot of the Griqua actually became coloured, because as coloured you had a preferential status. Now, that's an atrocity that happened a generation ago. It's history. But we're now talking about current day South Africa. In the video that follows, you'll see 3 members of Gatvol, Capetonians, and we're going to see more of them, because I love these guys. I think they're fantastic. And their main aim is to expose the vagaries of modern South Africa, not from a white perspective, but from a coloured perspective. And that is very important, because most of these coloureds carry the indigenous blood of the Khoisan people, who originally were the inhabitants of the whole of southern Africa before the Bantu people, which is the Khoi and the Zulu and people like Julius Malema, invaded their country. And it wasn't that long ago. So here's the irony. You've now actually got another racial group called the coloureds, and you'll see in the video where it says that they are being accused of racism against the blacks. It's absolutely incredible. You know, how I thought racism was restricted to the white population because of apartheid, because the African population, the black African population, can't get into these heads of theirs that racism is a living attitude towards another race. It's not a historical past event. That's something that people like Julius Malema and others in his party just don't understand. It's a living attitude in your head. And I would say that most whites in South Africa, and without a doubt most coloureds in South Africa, just want to live in harmony as a rainbow nation. But you know, now that the Bantu and Nguni people, who are a very violent people, their culture is based on violence, now are beating the war drums, saying, hey, we're in power, we're going to do what we like, we're going to take what we like, and if you don't like it, just get the hell out of our country. But guess what? It's not your country, guys. The people you're going to see in the video that's attached here were the original, traditional Homo sapiens inhabitants of southern Africa. So You've got the invaders from the north, who are the Bantu and Nguni people, and you have the invaders from the south, who are the Boers and the British and people like that, who the colonizers who came in. They were both attacking the same people. Now, in the Cape, again, just be quite clear, the coloured people epitomize and represent the traditional owners, like the Griqua do. The Griqua are probably like a more hardcore community who are, I mean, really, I have advocated from the day I started this channel that the whites should be talking to the coloureds, talking to the Griquas, forming an alliance and just getting all those Bantu and Nguni people out of that territory, forming their own region in the Western Cape, like Orania, and just barricading it, okay? Because there's no way the idiots who are running Parliament right now, the Malemas, the Ramaphosas, you know, they haven't got a clue about history, but they're running their mouths and claiming to be people who were kicked off their land when they weren't even there. All right, I'm going to leave it at that, but watch the video, and please remember to subscribe, and please remember to follow the live stream that we're holding later today. That's 8 p.m. Johannesburg time. I will put a link to the live stream down below. I've got a couple of really interesting interviews coming up. One with Philippe. We'll be talking about migration to the UK and Scotland, the do's and the don'ts, who can, who can't, all these sort of things. So if you're in the side chat, you can pose questions to Philippe, and he'll answer them. So it's a wonderful opportunity to actually talk to a guy who knows what's going on in the UK. And the second interview is with Johan, who's doing a tremendous amount to ensure that this channel, all its content is stored and saved. And if YouTube suddenly have a go at me, doesn't matter. All right, guys, subscribe, and I'll see you tonight at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time. Okay, just in closing, I promised to speak to you about Hermanus, which has gone through a pretty horrific time, and I've had a few videos which have covered that. And the interesting thing about Hermanus is it's traditionally very much a coloured area that the Bantu, Xhosa, Zulu people have kind of taken over and set up squatter camps and things like that. So we're not just talking about a white population being impacted in Hermanus, we're talking about a huge coloured population being impacted by these same black thugs who have absolutely no respect for the law and have just gone in and totally destroyed what was a beautiful, beautiful little town. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Here comes the video.
My name is Oscar Lyons, media liaison for Gatvol Capetonians. That is who we are. And we formed our organization on the 30th of April 2018. And the actual goal and aim of our organization is to raise awareness in the coloured community and also the broader minority community, white and Indian as well, about how we're being mauled over, bootstrapped, and everything that you can think of by the Democratic Alliance, the ANC, and all the coalition partners.
I'm Fadil Adams from Gatvol Capetonian. I'm the national spokesperson, and I joined this organization because I believe in its cause and I want to ensure that there's something left for our children at the end of everything.
I'm Ibrahim Davis, chairperson of the Gatvol Capetonian movement. The reason why I'm with this is I think that the coloured people have been marginalized for far too long.
We saw what was happening in Hermanus with all of the black residents of the Eastern Cape being bussed in and causing havoc in Hermanus. At that time, our organization not being formed, there wasn't even discussion about it yet. We were just a bunch of guys seeing our people suffering in Hermanus. And we went there as a show of support and solidarity with our people, with a few other people from a few different organizations that were present, to talk to those on the ground that were affected, and also to find out how it was they were responding to the land invasion and land grabs in Hermanus. And us arriving there is a show of support and solidarity amongst colored people who have been, unfortunately, for far too long suffering under the heels and boots of black oppression and black racism, being a marginalized people purely because we're not ethnically African black citizens of this country.
You come into my area, come and have a look at the view. Now all you're going to see is graffiti, spent bullet casings, used condoms, used tip packets, and lots of litter. Now the promise of liberation, it's a war we fought on these Cape Flats, where we sacrificed the Ashley Creels and the Pedro Pages for the right to live freely in our land. And that promise was houses, security, and comfort. We sang that song, with strain in our voices. No one's building houses for us. There is no security. Our areas are no-go zones. Police don't come into our areas. And God knows there is no comfort, because all arms of government have declared an economic war on the so-called colored people. And when I say an economic war, you walk into any retail store in Mitchell's Plain with 1.2 million people living, and they only employ blacks. It's 80-20. 80% black representation in an area where I live, where we spend our hard-earned money. And they say to our matriculants, there's no work for you here. You see, the economy doesn't want our youth, but the gangs do, and the prisons do. Now, we're on a very slippery slope here, people. And this is a fight that I swear to you, I will fight till my last breath. I'm sick of seeing good kids go to funerals.
Jy's kind, né?
When I tell you this now, I tell you from bottom of my heart, I am from Latin.
Is this, Luca, is this like a script or what?
I don't see your paper.
I'm just teasing you.
I tell you now that, I'm originally from the Steenberg-Lavendale retreat area. And the people that know me will tell you that I don't back away from a fight. I don't care if it's Zil, I don't care if it's Zilla, I don't care if it's Ramaphosa. I will not back down. If you go to the Klip Cemetery, you go to Doornmoogte, you go to Constantia, you will see that we are burying our best. We're burying our future. This is it's an unnatural act. Mothers burying sons daily. And it only happens in my community. And government expects us to be okay with this, not to highlight the things that matter. That 65-year-old grandmothers are still living in the back in Wendy houses somewhere, while 25-year-old, and I'm going to say it, black youth from the Eastern Cape are being given title deeds. The city of Cape Town uses us as a cash cow, and they take this money and they build houses for people who've been here 6 months and less. How is this fair? How is this right? We are the Aboriginal people. We built the city, man. You take a walk into Cape Town now, see any trace of us. Look at the deck, the taxi deck. They've chased us off there, and we've gone quietly. Because if we had opened our mouths, we'd have been racist right there and then. But you know what? If securing a future for my children and yours makes me racist, you can call me a racist idiot and I'll be okay with that label.
My quest to our people is to unite and be recognized. For 24 years after the ANC took over, promises have been made and promises have been broken. There's one thing that says in the Constitution that those that works the land, or the Freedom Charter, will benefit from the land. But it seems like we are not benefiting from the land. We are being pushed from the land.
And I say it again, racist job reservation for black people at an 80-20 split. When they gave 20% of the resources to 65% of this promised population, they effectively sentenced many of us to slow starvation. And they knew it, and they went ahead anyway. And we sat back, because we were told it's the black man's turn. Now 23 years in my calculation is a generation. We've lost a generation. I have no hatred towards whites. I have no hatred towards blacks. What I seek is fairness, the equality that was promised and that is being denied by legislation and by lies. Now until logic and politics collide, because they're like oil and water right now, there won't be peace in this province. I can guarantee you that.
Well, my vision for the great and wonderful city of Cape Town and the Western Cape is to have it declared as an independent state and country from South Africa. And we will not rest until that is achieved. That's the only way for us as a people to ensure we are not relegated to the pages of history.
I've got this dream where we don't mention race anymore. Can't happen in South Africa. Can't happen in these conditions. But if we get our independence, we can all be full citizens, full active citizens, on a common voters roll. That's the only way it's going to happen. The only way to save what is left of our youth and our culture is if we get our independence. We can beat this government at its very own game. All we need is a bit of unity. If the Cape Flats comes together, we're halfway there. And this is what they know. And this is why they send law enforcement to beat up our mothers, because they fear our unity. Independence, yeah, we've got parliament. We produce our own petrol. We've got the sea to our back. We've got all the land we need to farm. There will never be a hungry person in our new country. This thing can happen. I'm not promising you it's going to happen, but I'm saying to you it can happen. This is what keeps me going.